And here's the thing. Britain's dire COVID-19 death rate is partly as a result of obesity. We sort of knew this. The WHO, World Health Organization, have stepped in on this one. They say it's a wake-up call for the overweight West. They are not wrong. An interesting moment where we can be in concurrence with the WHO. Boris Johnson is considering giving out shopping vouchers for losing weight as he accepts the link between obesity and COVID. Will promise today £100 million more for slimming schemes. The PM's near-death experience has caused him to reverse his opposition to anti-obesity policies, and he accepts the government need to act. This case, of course, is underlined in a report by the World Obesity Federation, which concludes that thousands of deaths in Britain could have been avoided if negligent governments had a grip on the national weight problem. I'm not absolutely sure this is a government programme. Governments have tried for years on this one. We've heard all of the initiatives. Ban fast food ads, ban fatty foods, tax on sugary drinks, discount at gyms, no chips in schools, smaller size puddings, £1 million health ads, and yet we are still getting bigger. Why? 0344 499 1000. I was saying to Mike a second ago, we've never lived in an era where there is more information, an overt amount of information, a cacophony of information in terms of staying fit. Everything from daytime TV to webinars, social media, video fitness, the explosion of gyms, although they're all closed at the moment, which is rather curious against the backdrop of this. We've never had more information about staying fit. We've never had more knowledge about staying fit. We know more now about what certain foods do to your waistline, to other parts of your body and your overall health. We can cite weight-based issues and use terminology about certain ingredients and vitamins or lack of within products like we never could before. We speak the language of fitness. We know everything there is to know about fitness, and yet we are fatter than ever. 1984 was apparently the tipping point when all of this happened. 1984 was the point where obesity rates started to rise in this country. What happened post 1984? Because KFCs were around before 1984, and the first McDonald's was as well. Where was the first McDonald's? I'm tempted to say South London somewhere. Or was that the KFC? We'll get that info in a second. But now, the fast food places, chip shops, burger places, chicken parlours, wherever you like, on the edge of every street corner. They are, or Woolwich, I thought it was that neck of the woods. That was first McDonald's, right? I think the KFC was just outside of London, like Hertfordshire or something like that. But they've been around for a long time. I'll come to the issue of men and health in a second, because I think us blokes get a pretty raw deal when it comes to all of this. But let's have a look at these stats. Okay, these are the latest statistics that we could get our hands on. I'm sure the more up-to-date ones will be even more concerning and harrowing. So hospital admissions directly attributed to obesity. This is for the year 2017 to 2018. 11,117. So 11,000 people wound up in hospital because of obesity, directly because of obesity. It gets worse because, of course, there was many cases where obesity was a factor in hospitalizations. Now that goes to 876, that same year, 876,000 people, hospital admissions where obesity was a factor. Nearly 1 million people going into hospital where obesity was a fact. They didn't shut down the country for that, did they? That could have solved a whole heap of problems. Closed down all the chippies. That might have helped. 876,000. There were 711,000 as well, an increase of 23%, where there were previously 711,000. So you can see, just in a year or so, how this is taking an effect. The majority of adults were overweight or obese, 67% of men and 60% of women. This included 26% of men and 29% of women who were obese. 20% of that year, 6 children were classified as obese. Prevalence was over twice as high in the most deprived areas than the least deprived areas. Now that is interesting. 20% of year 6 children were classified as obese. That's a huge figure. So we're not just talking here about adults who are stuffing their face with burgers, buns and pies. Kids as well. Who's feeding the kids? Well, the adults, mum and dad, are feeding the kids. So this started to kind of really take hold post-1984. How did this go wrong? What happened? How did Britain become so big? 0344 499 1000. I'm asking this as a genuine question. Because the obvious, well, we just eat more stuff and there's more stuff available. Well, there is that, but I would counter that with the aforementioned amount of information that we have out there, which is a proliferation, an abundance, an overabundance of information about staying healthy, trying to stay below dangerous levels of obesity, keeping fit. You don't even need to go to a gym. You can go on a daily walk or a daily run. This counts for nothing. And I mentioned this with Mike. When I was a kid, we genuinely looked at the Americans. If you ever caught sight of an American TV show, whether you were watching an Oprah or a Ricky Lake, remember her? She went up and down like a yo-yo as well, didn't she, in the weight department? Or who was the other one? Jerry Springer. You'd watch that program. And actually, if you turned on Jerry Springer, you actually thought that every program was actually about obesity. It wasn't. Just all the guests were always obese, regardless of what the subject was. Everybody was massive. You think, wow, how is this a thing? How is everybody so darn big in America? I mean, not just a bit big, not a bit, cheeky and chubby, but absolutely flipping massive. And I used to see this as a kid, and I used to look around at my mum and my dad and think, well, we're all quite slim, and the neighbours are reasonably. We don't have this problem over here. Now, the whole thing is almost not quite reversed. I think we have a bigger obesity problem in this country than the United States. So first question, I want to know why that is. How did the UK become so big? I want to throw that out. But I want to specify this as well. I mean, we'll take calls from every age group and from men and women on this one as well. But in particular, blokes. Because there's a side to this, I think it's no good just saying, "Oi, fatty," and expecting that person to go and lose weight. They're more likely to compound their grief and nip down to the local chip shop and start stuffing away the potatoes. Nobody wants to be fat, right? A friend of mine did a show for BBC, Ricky Grover, comedian and actor. He did a show for BBC Three a couple of years back about this. And I was talking to him, he said, nobody wants to be fat. Nobody wants that. If you ask a kid, draw a picture of a lazy person. They usually draw a picture of a fat, lazy person, because that's the correlation you have in your head. Nobody wants that, he said. And Ricky did really well during that time, and others around him did too. But actually, it's blokes in particular that I feel really sorry for here, because most of the information is aimed at women. If you look at the daytime TV stuff, if you look at all those videos, I mean, you've got Joe Wicks on the case. I think most blokes secretly just hate him because he's quite good looking and fit. But all that exercise stuff, whether it's Davina, whether it's Kerry Katona, anyone, somebody from Corrie, the girl off Neighbours, whoever it happens to be, releasing their DVDs for fitness, all aimed at women. What about as a bloke? So tell me this, as a bloke. And I know this is a slightly, very different kind of phone in here. But I genuinely want to talk about this. The taboos of being overweight when you're a bloke. But the difficulty of being overweight as well. Because I know people who, they say, I've tried everything. And you probably haven't tried everything because you can do it. It's kind of whether you want to do it. And that's not a criticism. Because some people's inability to do it is like someone's inability to give up smack or drinking or smoking. It's like, yeah, we all know the rules on paper. Just stop. Try telling that to a smoker. Just stop. Just stop now. Okay. Well, that's about addiction. We'll talk to somebody on that issue of addiction in a few moments. We'll talk to Chloe Madeley as well. She knows a thing or two about fitness. She's in completely fit condition. Totally looks after herself in terms of exercise, diet and the whole thing. But not everybody can do that. And if you're a bloke and you battle with this, you probably laugh about it. And you probably joke about, oh, look at me, I put on a few pounds. Yeah, I know, I'm this, that, and the other. Make all the same gags so that people don't make them for you. And you throw it out there at the beginning. When you go home, you're probably a bit sad about that. You're carrying several sacks of potatoes, the equivalent of, around your waist. And you know it's not a good look, and you know it's not good on your heart, and you know it's not good for your kids, and you just don't know what the heck you can do about it. That's how you feel. That's how you're feeling on this. And it affects everybody. It even affects our own Prime Minister.
I've been doing everything I can to lose weight and to feel fitter and healthier. And what I've been doing is I've been eating less carbs, avoiding chocolate, no more late night cheese, all that kind of thing. I've been getting up early to go for runs. And the result is, I actually have lost some weight. We're investing now in that whole national objective. And what we want to do is to encourage another 700,000 people around the country to do the same thing. And so we'll be not just fitter, but also healthier and happier, and we'll bounce back better together. That's the objective.
That's the objective. Boris Johnson is trying to do the same thing. You can hear people in Downing Street saying, who's eaten the gorgonzola? It's the PM again on one of his midnight feasts. Some late night cheese. Different world, kids. 0344 499 1000. So yet again, it's another government initiative. They never ever work. We know what to do. Why are we not doing it? Why are we not adhering to the very basic advice? More exercise, less fat, less carbs, etc. No midnight cheese. That's not good. 0344 499 1000. So I want a general view from you on this, a basic response as to what the heck has gone wrong with Big Britain. How did we get so big? But also your own story. Just share this with us, because as a bloke, people joke about fat blokes. People sympathise with overweight women and joke about fat blokes. Still the case.